if that's definitely streaming. Is that streaming? Why are you so... Okay, I think that is streaming. There you go. Okay, I can kind of see what's going on. I think that's still a bit off. I'm going to move that down ever so slightly. Does that work? I think there's just something slightly off, and I want to try and figure. I think maybe it's just the eye. There you go. Yeah, that looks good. Right. White. Ooh. So just continuing on with the page that I did on, started on Sunday. And I'm hoping to finish the inking either, what time is it? Maybe not tonight. Tomorrow then. Which means I can start on colouring pretty darn soon. How you doing, Joe? Sorry, it's taking a bit of time for me to get on. I was in the middle of a conversation. But I was actually working. Sure. Isn't that something that you should maybe message me separately about? Yep, can do. No worries at all. There you go. That's it done. Doesn't look too bad actually. Maybe if I pull that back a little bit more. Maybe something like that. That works. That works. Wow, he's been so aggressive lately, and I don't know what it is, right? But everything has just been so passive and aggressive, and I'm a bit worried about you. Oh, hold on. Okay. I'm allowed to take time off, right? It's called having a family, right? You jerk. What's that all about? This is what you get for taking time off. Yeah, well, okay, whatever. Rude. So rude. Honestly. Right, I think I will maybe do that one later. I don't think I'll have time to finish that panel there. It looks pretty good. I'm quite happy with the way this has worked out, right? So that's what it looks like so far. And it's almost there. And what I'm thinking is I'm going to change this last panel because I'm not entirely keen on it. But what I'll do is I think I'll just delete that entirely, right? And what I'm going to put in is a little bit of... I had an idea, right? And the idea was something like this. And that would just be Oh, why am I doing that? Yeah, bottom panel. Right, and then add a little bit of some razzle dazzle, larger droplets. Gaussian blur that. And turn it into a glow. And then I would do and this isn't the finalized logo, so we still need to work on the logo a little bit. But essentially the logo would go there. So I need to fix the logo, and I don't know when entirely I'll have time to do that. I'm hoping next week, maybe sometime, but again, it's really, really busy this week and next week. Logo. So I need to put that in. Like there. We'll move that panel down. Doesn't even need that panel, does it? Does that work? I don't think that works. I don't think that works. Right, their new idea then. Change the size of this. And let's put this in here. I can literally, I mean, does it even need anything? That panel should probably have an edge to it. I'm sure there's a way of changing the edge color, and I can't remember how it is, how to do it. No. Maybe that's what it is there. It looks a bit silly, doesn't it? Oh, okay. I wonder if I can just get rid of this, I think. Jeffrey Publishing presents All 22. I think that's probably the best thing for it. Just this. Okay, let's move this up a little bit. Play about with some of these. make this a bit smaller. Maybe I'll just change that a little bit as well. Oh, this is why we have a letterer. I'll be joining you before you know it, 'cause I'm a cool guy who plays football. Woo! Football! Sorry. I think because it's a logo, it seems out of place. I don't know. I'll leave it just now. I feel like I'm wasting time, but it doesn't look too bad just now. But it's not right for sure. So I'll need to think about this and place it in such a way that I think works better. Oh, and I made this an Inkscape for anyone who is interested. I know when you watch this, whenever. The logo was made in Inkscape. Took a fair bit of time to do, but I think it was on the right lines, possibly. I actually personally think the whole thing should be much simpler. And I think I might change it a bit. Anyway, leave it just now because it's a bit of a waste of time. I'm focusing on this part here, so I need to redraw some of this because I'm not entirely happy with the way that's worked. That looks pretty good. I'm actually quite happy with the way that looks there, but this needs to be redrawn. Background's mostly fine. It's going to be in the backgrounds or whatever. But one of the best things, again, playing about with this, is that every curve leads us back to where we want it. Now this is the one thing that's kind of off, so I need to change that. Anyway, let's get on with it. It threw me off. Right. And it's not just about the fact that we had to ink the pages. That's not the issue. I mean, yeah, we had to ink the pages. But if you wanted the logo there in the first place, then that had to be sorted before. Or, I mean, otherwise it'd take a break before the next couple of pages. That's the problem. It's not like it's just, oh yeah, we'll do this first and that'll be the end of it, because actually there's a lot more to it. I need to play on that logo, and there's something off about it, and I need to figure out what that is. Right, hold on, let's just call this rough. Maybe it's the colours. Maybe it's the what's it called? Complexity of the thing in itself. I think the simpler the better. So I have been reading Haikyuu, which is genuinely phenomenal, and I've been doing it. I mean, it's very hard actually for me to put it down. It's very good. And I guess their logo is very cool, and it makes so much sense with the way they've done the ball being spiked and everything on the in the logo. I love that. I really do. And it's very clever. How did I do it here? Okay. And I wanted to try and do something like that, but it didn't fit. It didn't work because, well, I don't know. Maybe it was just the letters that I had to play with. Maybe it was my lack of imagination, which absolutely is the biggest burden. Um, Maybe it was just because it was a sudden thing, and I didn't really spend the time on it that I should have. I think I just need to take a step back and try it again. Now that I've been away, as it were, from it, and then maybe just try something entirely different. That might be the best thing to do, actually, is just try something entirely different. Anyway, if you haven't read Haikyuu, I massively recommend it. It's so good. It's and it's not like, even if you don't. I mean, I know nothing about netball. Sorry, volleyball. Why did I say netball? I don't to like think there that was I right or was I wrong? I know like nothing about volleyball, or I just know that it's one of those beach things that they used to play. But I mean, indoor volleyball is got so many complicated rules, and it's very clearly and very cleverly explained. I think it's brilliant. So definitely check it out. The guy looks tiny, the commissioner. Have you actually watched like a real game on TV or something? That looks better. It's kept back a little bit. Much better. Much better. Right. Head how short is he then? Up to the ear. Okay. So looking down, there's the ear. So it'll go roughly about there. I like the way I drew his face there, so I need to keep that in mind. So I'm going to keep referencing this image because I really like it. And I think it works really nicely for the commissioner in general. It's I think it looks pretty good. This is someone who has possibly played football in the past, or has always watched a team, or has tried to be in a team or something, right? So whenever I get a character that is just like, and every so often this happens, and I'm not saying it happens all the time, but every so often I get a character and it's like, oh, can you draw this bully, or can you draw this side guy, or whatever, then it's more important for me to some extent to know what they're like. I mean, do they just like bullying people, for example? Are they just the commissioner? Or, so if I don't get much extra from these people in terms of information about them, or like a character sheet, thank you, then what I do is I create like a background to themselves. So my imagination is that the commissioner here was an old football player, maybe not the best football player in the world, but he was a football player. He was played in the league. His team may have won, but not necessarily because of him. But he has a really good foundational understanding of the game. He knows exactly he knows exactly where the money needs to go. He knows exactly how to handle players. He's not someone who's afraid of someone who is like 7 foot, which most of these players are going to be. He is just, because again, he grew up with this, as it were. He played this for his entire life. So it's very much inbuilt in him not to be afraid of these kind of people. And he just gets on with his job like a pro, and he loves it. That's my character. That's who I think the commissioner is. This is off a little bit because you can tell it's a little bit squished in here. I need to give this a little bit more breathing room. Fills out the page a little bit more as well, but allows for a little bit more of what's it called? Well, breathing room. Really, I've already said that. Okay, maybe not 7 feet tall, right? But I'm looking close to them, right? They're like 6 foot something, right? Okay, don't act like I'm crazy, right? There's players here that are like 6'2", 6'3", right? 7 foot was an exaggeration, yeah, but it's still possible. Don't be that guy, okay? Basketball, they're taller, right? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. How tall was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? Anyway, I like the idea that he was a bit of a shorter player as well. But he was still a player. It was a good one. He was your basic good. No, that eye line doesn't fit there. Let's see, there you're looking there. So looks better. Much better. Good. Get rid of this rough. Fix the face ever so slightly because it's just a bit squished up to the top. Pull that down, move things around, and we should be good to go. Handsome man. And put it back to there. That'll work. Let's do this. Yeah. Right. Folders. Love me some folders. Why do I like folders? Organization is key to good art. That sounds counterintuitive to art. But when it comes to art that is linear, in that you are making a story or you're making progression in some way, it's easy. And again, especially if you're working with multiple people on it, it's always better to have layers and organized, labeled everything. So I like to do multiple, or at least a minimum of like 4 different layers. Sometimes even 2, actually, minimum of 2, but I roughly play about with about 4 different layers. So I have an outline, which I would typically use my turnip pen for, if my lines are feeling good for that day. And I think they're alright just now. They're feeling somewhat strong right now. So I'll use my turnip pen for the outline. And I will then use my textured pen for the inside. I just like the extra grit that adds to those lines. So all this is still what I call an outline. Anyway, that's the outline essentially sorted. So what I'll do then is I'll make another layer of my inline. And that is like roughly my 2 different layers. That's pretty much all I will do. And again, use my texture pen depending on what I need to work with. Now, a lot of people don't get this idea. But when you're drawing manga, especially when you're drawing manga, you are doing it in such a way that you're aiming for the smallest number of lines possible. When you're making, and that's still a rule that gets applied today. When you're making comic books, it's not so much about that. But one rule for both is, and I like this, I mean, instead of just drawing everything, and obviously there's a limit of there's like you can play about with this rule, as it were. But essentially, the rule I'd like to play with is, where's the light hitting? In which case, pretty much you're just drawing the shadows. That's it. And that took me a little bit of time to get my head round, in all honesty. And it was very much something I had to learn on the job kind of thing. And I think I want to change that eyebrow. It looks just a bit too cocky there. There you go. Now he is gracious in victory. So it's very much where's the shadow and where's the light hitting it, in which case you only need to draw the shadow parts. Like if you can't see, for example, every single nook and cranny, then don't bother drawing it. You don't need to. It's a waste of ink. But obviously with everything being digital, you have a little bit more leeway, as it were, instead of just having to use ink blots. But again, you got to think about printing, because that's still very much being inked. So you got to think about the printing aspect of it as well. And truth is, it doesn't really matter too much nowadays how much ink is on the page. They pretty much charge you per page for the most part. I mean, that color is obviously another factor into it, but with manga that doesn't carry forward too much. Comic books, obviously, there's a lot more color involved. But with manga, there's only normally a couple of pages that are colored in a special edition or something, or it's not like every page is going to be colored. So I always just kind of play on this idea of, right, where are the shadows? What do I need to keep a record of? Are there going to be some parts that are more thicker lines, some parts that are darker lines? Can you see it from further away sometimes? In which case, what is the easiest or simplest way that you can convey the idea that you want to convey? Like, if someone is standing 100 feet away from you, can you see the expression on their face? I don't think so. So, how do you convey that they are angry? I have them stomping or something, do something like that. And part of that, if not all of that, will come from your author as well. But again, your author is going to be the one that has to essentially okay everything. If you're working privately, for independent authors, and that's pretty much how you get that's how you start, everyone. Or you write your own stuff as a mangaka or manga artist, mangaka. You'll be writing your own stuff or someone else's stuff, and most of the time it'll be entirely independent. Very rarely do you get an opportunity to do big company stuff, unless obviously you get noticed. But how do you get noticed? You start off with this stuff in the first place. So it's like do your due diligence. Put your time in. It's not like you're gonna straight off the bat get commissions. That's not how it works. You got to put a lot of effort into, one, getting noticed, and two, getting better. Otherwise, you are sitting in a position thinking, oh, well, I'm not getting anything. I'm really good. Yeah, okay, great. But have you showed anyone your work? Have you told anyone how good you are? Have you put effort into a media presence? And I will 100% say I am not good at social media. I'm not really good at social stuff in general. I don't like it. I'm not really a social kind of person. As some people don't believe that. But I like chilling. I like my privacy. I'm quite introverted actually. But it doesn't mean I can't fake it. Everybody who's introverted has learned or will learn how to fake being a socialite, especially when you get to like college and university years, by the way. At that part, pretty much drinking is what's going to save you. I'm sorry, that's not right. I shouldn't say that. That's really bad. Drinking's really, really bad. Anyway, totally separate. What was the point I was making? Because I think I just went off on one. Alright, so the point I'm making is that be noticed. Try and get your stuff out there. But not only try and get your stuff out there, try and figure out or look at what is trending. Look at material that more people will look at. Look at business insights. Look at courses that help you create a following. Look at your analytics on look at the analytics on your Instagram pages. Do all that kind of stuff, because actually it really will help. Not just Instagram, sorry, Facebook as well. What post did you put that got the most likes? Why did it get the most likes? That kind of thing. For example, when I was looking at the stuff that for me, what got the most likes, as it were, it was this thing that this Dragon Ball thing, Dragon Ball Super, I think, or Dragon Ball, I can't even remember. But the video on YouTube, for example, was Akira Toriyama, and that was the one that I got the most views and likes from, because it's Akira Toriyama. So am I going to exploit that? Absolutely not, because he was an absolute hero of mine, and I don't want to do anything, as it were, that would sully his name. I'm not going to make some sort of trash and just say, oh yeah, this is Akira Toriyama's endorsed that, as it were, because that would honestly break me. So be aware of what you are posting, who it can affect, and that's honestly how you get a bit more of a following. I am not great. So I know I'm like saying all this, but I'll tell you right now, I'm not great at getting so much of a following on social media and whatnot, and mainly because I just don't like the idea of social media, and it means that I have to put more effort into it. But thankfully, I have some people that want me to do work for them already, that I don't have to necessarily build so much up, and I'm massively grateful for that. But that's not going to be a long-term solution. That's not going to be 100%. I'll be able to do that all the time. So I do need to watch out for that, and I definitely need to work on that. But I guess for now it's not a high priority for me, but it will be in the future. So I will take my own advice, hopefully. Anyway, I'm just ranting, I guess, for a bit. I apologize for that. Handsome man. What I'm actually really excited about with this one what I'm really excited about this one is one, I have not really watched American football, and it's definitely something that's interested me in the past, just because of how big it is. I mean, I know it's a huge thing in the US, like huge in the US, but it's also because it's how big it is. I mean, obviously the American culture does impact British culture somewhat more nowadays than it used to, I think, and it is quite a big thing. Anyway, the point I'm making is I've always kind of known about it, but I've never really put the effort into finding out about it. So this has given me the opportunity, this whole manga and All 22 has given me a really wonderful opportunity where I can do a lot of research, and thankfully Joe, who is the author of this, has really put the effort into showing me the stuff that I need to know, and he's explained things in such a way that makes a lot of sense. I mean, for my ignorance, it's I will get most of it, and I will pretty much just be like, oh, when Joe talks to me, without really knowing truly what he's talking about. But it's still that's only sometimes. I actually genuinely am interested in finding out more about this, because I mean, American football is actually really cool. I didn't realize just how intense and how systematic the game is. I mean, there's a lot of nuance there that if you didn't really understand what was going on, you could definitely get lost in. And for example, if someone does make a play or makes a run in some way, right? And you think, oh, that's great. They just passed it to their teammate, and then that was great. But then you'd be missing out on this idea that actually you've got like, right, 7 other people that you could have passed to. You have multiple defenders that are there that try and take the ball off you. So what is the most tactical thing that they could possibly have done? And they have to make these split-second decisions. And when they're making these split-second decisions, there's no one else there but the person who's got the ball, and then possibly someone shouting at them saying, chuck it here. But there's with a crowd involved, and with like the opposite team essentially putting pressure on you as well. There's loads of nuance there's loads of intense thinking, and actually the level of tactics that are involved in this is almost military. It's crazy how intense it can be. And some of these players, I mean, obviously I'm not an expert in any shape or form, but some of these players, the way they play, you can instantly tell why they stand out. You can instantly tell why they get like a nickname like Bulldozer or whatever. You know what I mean? It's really cool to find out more about this stuff. So I'm actually thankful that I'm in a position where I can. And hopefully, even after this is done, I can keep it up a bit. Right, I'm going to keep going for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I think, a bit more. And then I'll pretty much need to call it. So I'm hoping to get this panel done, and that'll pretty much have to be it. But I do appreciate everyone who has come on. Really, really big thanks. I'm getting back in it, and I'm trying to find opportunities to get back into it. With the holidays just being the holidays, busy with family and everything. Anyway, I hope you've been enjoying all my random blabbering. And then I hope I haven't put you off from coming again. And I hope you've been enjoying the art as well, because that's obviously the biggest thing. You know? Yeah, that works. Right, so what I do with this part, and I quite like this, is that I just pick out little bits that I can add some white lines to it, like that. And what that just instantly makes it look shiny, and it's like, oh wow, this is a fancy suit. You know what I mean? Like instantly you're like, oh, fancy suit, huh? You know, just to know what it is. Almost there. Finish off his face, then we'll put the background in, and then I think we're going to have to call it. Now I will change the face a little bit because it looks a bit squished in, doesn't it? So I'm just going to add a little bit of subtle lines here and there, just to make it look less like the face has been squished, and hopefully spread it out a little bit more. No, that wasn't good. A bit balloon face. Oh, that was one thing that threw me off originally when I was watching, reading Haikyuu, is that in the first couple of issues, like everyone had this weird balloon face aesthetic, and I think that obviously that was just the way the artist drew. But as it's gone on, that's been fixed massively, and it just looks phenomenal. Some of the artwork is honestly inspiringly phenomenal, and I have been very much wanting to get on and just draw my own manga for a while, because I've been reading Haikyuu and I'm like, dang, this is so good. Where are you? There you are. That looks better. Get rid of some of the outline. Oh. Get rid of some of the inline. Much better. Right. Just change that. Move the eye a little bit. I think that's what's throwing it off. It's not. Push that a little bit. I think I need to fix the shape of the mouth because it doesn't quite sit right. Now we can get rid of the rough. Pencils. Fix some of the dark parts because it doesn't need to be that dark around the edge of the mouth. Move that eye over a little bit. That'll do it. And let's put a t-shirt in place. Dang, looks tiny, son. It looks so tiny. He looks so tiny. Okay. Yep. Put that in. T-shirt. I'm not going to put any details in the t-shirt. I'm going to put in the outline. I'm going to put the inline with some folds. I'm not even going to put the number in or the letters because again it's right in here. Don't need to be obvious about it. Just make it enough that it is an important shirt. A little bit smaller. Cool. And that'll be it. So we put in an inline. But you see what I mean by this little bit of edginess, a little bit of grit that's on that compared to the outline. And it just makes it seem a lot more, what's the word? Legitimate, like a little bit more traditional manga, a little bit more, I guess, interesting. You want to be interesting with all this, right? You want it to be, and look fascinating to the eye. So if you just have these like really bold lines all the time, it's not ideal because it doesn't show anything, it doesn't deliver anything. It just gives you it bores the eye. I think that's what it is. The eye just gets bored, and because of that, it's not massively interesting for anyone to really want to see. Instead, let's get rid of that. That didn't work. Let's put. Let's try something slightly different. Yep. But if you have this kind of variation in lines and line width and the textures that are added, boy, do they have a big impact. Right. Right. This is just a basis for what happened there? Where have you gone? Right, whatever. This is just an idea for me to then put on top, draw on top of. That's all it is. Right, so I know it looks pretty terrible right now. Don't you fret. Or maybe you should. Don't fret. Just don't worry. Where's a ballpoint pen? Bear in mind when I'm doing this, it's going to be like quite far away. That you will notice. So hopefully this will look good from a distance. And this is why I was talking about earlier, I think it was part of it, was that do you have to put so much effort and so much detail into something that doesn't really show up properly if it's at a great distance? And the truth is you don't. One, who's going to look that much depth, And this is part of one of those things. I don't know if you've seen where you've had you've had artists who say, right, let's zoom in here and then go even further, and oh look, there's another image inside this image and whatnot. I mean, that kind of stuff is really cool, but I mean, who's buying that is what I want to know. Like, honestly, who has the time to do that, in which case there's not a chance that you are, actually doing it professionally. I mean, maybe you are. I don't want to judge. Maybe you are. But it doesn't seem like you'll have the time and effort to do it unless you're getting paid, like, I don't know, thousands for that one piece that took you 4 years to do. And even then, that is, how are you making any money off that? You know? Right, so this part's almost there. Possibly get the background in after this. Right, now I'm going to do a little bit of trickery and remove some of this here and there like this. Add a little bit of a fade. Remove the pencils and this thing. And there you go. See, from a background it looks totally fine. You know what I mean? Like, you can't even tell. Wow! It's yay! I don't know. T-shirt, that's all done. Let's put, what's that? That's nothing. Let's put the background in. The backgrounds very recently, especially in panels like this, I like to do like in a much lighter grey. It makes everything else stand out a little bit more. And I just think it looks cool, to be honest with you. I mean, I think it looks much better. Right, so here is, I'm going to keep this roughly as it is. I'm not going to change that. And all I'm going to do is just use my pen. Probably the textured pen of quite a light 0.4. It's quite a light one. And all I'm going to do is redraw the background, as you can see. And that'll pretty much be it. Adding small details like this in alternative line direction also creates this idea of depth. But on top of that, also creates much more visually appealing things for the eye. Just little textures here and there. You don't have to add a lot. And I noticed this from Haikyuu again, that they did some small things like this. And honestly, I learned so much about that. Art and whatnot. Just from drawing things like, or just from reading things like Haikyuu. It's really, really good. And you can probably not see, but I am actually using a ruler on my drawing tablet. And it's like, oh, some people don't get the idea of being able to use a ruler on a drawing tablet. Like, you should have a tool on your drawing program that allows you to do straight lines and things like that. It's like, yeah, but then you don't get the variation sometimes that you want with drawing tablets, or the line depth that you get from doing the line yourself. So yes, you can, but this, in my opinion, makes it somewhat nicer. Makes it much more interesting to, and you're more likely to be used to using an actual ruler. You know what I mean? Like, what is the point of trying to get a tool when you've got one in your hand already? Nope, no, wrong thing. Love me little hatching pin, useful for so much. I actually use the hatching pin so much. Right, so I mean, that's what I mean. There's the background, and I'll do one more thing, which I call that hatch. Or maybe add a little bit of subtlety in the background with a soft eraser brush. Just vary it up a little bit. And there, I mean, you can still tell, like, the focus is still very much the characters, so, yeah, it still works. Right, let's do a little bit of this, and a little bit of this, and a little bit of this, and a little bit of targeted regions, and whites here and there, some darks. Right, and then I'm going to do a whole big blur. This is one of the things that I picked up, and I love it. Right, now that looks like a background on the image. You know, like, oh, like a really zoomed in picture of something, you know what I mean? Is that not, I kind of love that idea. And again, this is the kind of stuff that you get from studying different artists and picking up different things from different artists. Right, and then I'll just turn that into a little bit lighter. There you go. All I need to do now is add some highlights. And then put in the white layer. And that's it, gone. Ready for the white layer? Yes, you are. I mean, I don't know why I said it like that. Some people just can't handle all of these layers. No, I'm losing it. I thought I had it all, but I'm actually losing my grip, so I'm going to need to cut it off there. Start fresh. There is an easier way of doing this. I just can't be bothered with it because it requires going into different layers, and in all honesty, I don't really want to have to open up all the different layers that I've just been working on, because I've not closed them, but I've put them in the pool in the folders of, so I don't really want to do more opening of folders. Right, and call this white. There you go. There you go. So I mean the background works. I might just smudge that droplet patch a little bit more here and there, blending it a little bit more. There you go. That works. Oh, that's not bad. I might just make that black. Okay, what I might do instead is I might just make that black. I don't think it's going to make a difference. I actually think it might look better. Yeah, it absolutely doesn't make a difference. I think that looks good with black. Still focused on these characters, that's fine, that's great. Should I add a shadow? No, I'm not going to bother adding a shadow, I think that looks good. Adding a shadow, yeah, will add a little bit more depth to it, but not necessary at all. Anyway, that's it. This is us. Done. Got this panel to do. I'm hoping to finish that tomorrow. Kids are out. Woo! That's really bad. I love my kids, but dude needs a break. They're out tomorrow, so I should have some time doing this. So this hopefully works. Yep, that flows so nicely now. So much better. I'm glad I got rid of that panel. Right. Thank you very much. And hopefully I'll maybe see you at the next one. I hope you enjoyed that session. And we'll see. That's it. Again, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you at the next one. Bye-bye.